I gave Opus 5 and Fable 5 the exact same prompt and asked both of them to build the exact same app with the same features, same design references, same follow-up instructions, and the same amount of help from me. And the results were truly shocking. I noticed that the difference between Opus 5 and Fable 5 is very noticeable. One of them built something that actually felt like a finished product, but the other one needed more help from me. So today I am answering the question everyone wants to know: which model is actually better at building complete apps inside Claude Code? And I am not just testing them with a simple landing page. Both models will have to build a full productivity app with tasks, habits, goals, a calendar, focus sessions, analytics, local data persistence, responsive design, and a polished interface. And by the end, we will put both apps side by side, test every major feature, and score them across design, functionality, intelligence, speed, and how much babysitting each model needed. So now let's see which one wins. Part 1, the app we are building. But before we start building, let me show you exactly what we are cloning and why it works. This app is called Dayflow, and Dayflow is basically a personal operating system for managing your entire day from one dashboard. The homepage to show what you need to do today, your current habits and your progress towards larger goals, your upcoming schedule, and a quick view of how productive you have been. So users should be able to create and complete tasks, drag tasks between different stages, build recurring habits, track streaks, start a focus timer, create long-term goals with milestones, and plan their week through a calendar. But why am I choosing this app specifically? Because there are 3 criteria that every viral app follows, including Dayflow. First, it solves a common and frustrating problem. Dayflow solves the problem of feeling overwhelmed and disorganized. Instead of juggling separate apps for tasks, habits, goals, focus sessions, and planning, users can manage their entire day from one single dashboard. Second, it keeps things simple. Dayflow's core functionality can be explained in 3 words: organize your day. Users can instantly see what they need to do, what habits they need to complete, and how they are progressing toward their goals. And third, it's naturally shareable. When someone builds a long habit streak, completes a major goal, or has an extremely productive week, they can share that progress with their friends. And this creates social proof and gives the app free organic marketing. So now let's build it. Part 2, setting up the head-to-head test. Okay, so I'm starting with 2 completely empty folders. The second one is called Dayflow Fable. I will open each folder in its own terminal window and start a separate Claude Code session. Now in the first terminal I will select Opus 5, and in the second terminal I will select Fable 5. And I'm also placing the windows side by side so we can watch both agents work roughly at the same time. And I will not count waiting time caused by me switching between the windows. I only care about how long each model takes from receiving the prompt to declaring the build complete. Okay, so now the folders are empty, both sessions are ready, and it's time for the first prompt. Part 3, the same build prompt. I am making the first prompt intentionally detailed because I do not want this comparison to be a lottery where one model gets lucky because the instructions were vague. This way both models know exactly which product they need to build, which features matter, and what counts as finished. But I am still leaving enough creative freedom for each model to make its own architectural and design decisions. So here's the exact prompt going into both Claude Code sessions, and you can copy this prompt via the link in the description if you want this yourself. Okay, so I'm pasting that into Opus first, and then the exact same thing into Fable. And now both of the models are working. So this is where the comparison actually begins. They both have the same destination, but they can choose completely different routes to get there. So now I'm just going to let both of them continue without any interference, and we will meet back when the first builds are ready. Part 4, the first build, Fable 5. Okay, and here we are. The first model has finished the build, and it's actually Fable 5 that finished before Opus. As you can see, it took almost 47 minutes to do the entire build. So let's check out what Fable managed to do. Okay, so from the get-go, I can see that it has come up with onboarding information. It asks the user to input all the necessary details that it needs to set up their dashboard, so let me just fill in this real quick. Now I can either pick from the existing options or type my own, but I'm just going to pick from one of the available options for now. And then it even goes into detail about picking when your day starts and when it ends. It's rather easy to modify this. Now that I'm done, I'm going to click on Start My Day and see what comes up. And okay, wow, this is a very detailed dashboard. On the top of the dashboard, it's showing a summary of all the things that we've done, and even a little motivational quote, which is a good thing to have, I guess. And right below it shows the tasks I need to complete for today and today's schedule right below it. Okay, so I'm guessing Fable 5 just added these as placeholders so we can see how the apple will look like in production. So let's just go through them one by one. This task section is very detailed. Currently it has divided the tasks into 4 sections, in progress, tasks pending for today, backlog, and tasks that I have completed. This is very good, but I'm thinking it will be better to have a feature where I can label tasks in more different ways. If not, I will add that feature there as well. Now on the habit side, it's also showing the different things I have to do on a daily basis. I'm guessing this is different from tasks because some tasks are only unique to a specific day, but habits have to be done daily. And now the goal section, it's looking very good. And I even noticed a progress bar which just shows how close we are to completing the goal. And the first thing I'm checking is whether it actually runs without me having to fix anything. So there's this new goal button on the top right, and we just click on that. Oh, and it shows a pop-up where I can enter all the details. That's cool. Now let's go over to the planner side, and okay, this is actually detailed as well. It reminds me of Google Calendar a little bit. I think Fable just added a feature very similar to Google Calendar as just a side feature within our app. That's very good. And just like Google Calendar, I can click anywhere on the calendar to add a time block. Let me test what happens if I change one of these tasks. Will it update the calendar immediately? So let me try changing the time of this, and nice, it updated immediately. That's cool. Now on the focus session, and cool, it looks like a timer, and I can link each focus section to a task or a goal. That's very cool too, because from many apps I've tried that are similar to this one, there's usually just a countdown feature, but I will need to link each thing manually. So it's cool to see that Fable 5 added this instinctively. I think this actually makes our app way better than what's on the app market currently. And there's also an analytics section. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, and this is pretty cool. It shows things in more detail than the dashboard. And finally, in the settings section, we can change the appearance, our personal profile, back up all the details of our app right now, and reset the onboarding. There's also this reset demo data button, but I'm guessing this is just for the demo we are on right now, and hopefully Fable 5 removes this when I prepare the app for production later in the video. Okay, so this is actually a very cool app. I'm impressed with what Fable 5 has come up with so far. People weren't wrong about all the hype it had. Now keep in mind that this is Fable 5's untouched first build. I have not asked it to improve the design yet, and I have not manually repaired any individual UI problems. I will be doing that next. Part 5, first build, Opus 5. Okay, now Opus 5 has finished about 15 minutes after Fable, so let's see what Opus has made. From the first impressions alone, I'm liking Opus 5's onboarding system design a lot better. It just looks more modern than a template React project like what Fable 5 made. So let me go through this onboarding system. It has the same content as the Fable 5 app because we use the same prompt, but the design is a lot cleaner and smoother. And the dashboard has the same concept too, but I see that Opus 5 took a different approach in terms of structuring it. The entire top section is just the overview, and then below it there are two columns. First is divided into tasks and schedule, and the second has habits, focus, and goals with their own boxes. It looks pretty cool, and I might say it looks slightly cleaner than Fable 5's app. Now let's go through the pages on the left side too. First it has the tasks page, the same as Fable, and it has the same sections too. But one thing that I'm noticing, which is rather weird, it's showing me backlogged tasks, today's tasks after that, and then in progress tasks even after that, which is a bit weird. I would expect in progress to be prioritized, then today's tasks, then backlog tasks, and then the tasks that are completed. Fable actually had a better sorting for tasks than Opus. And of course, I can add new tasks from this button, and there's a list button and board view, which Fable had too. Now moving on to the habits section, and the design here is different from Fable. I honestly liked Fable's more because it showed the progress bar. You can see that Opus also shows the progress of each habit here, but it's just text and not a bar like Fable. I think if Opus replaced these check marks on the left side of each habit with a progress bar, it would have been way better. Now the goals section looks good too. There are also labels under each goal as you can see, and luckily this one has a progress bar. Now here's the calendar section. It looks clean as well, and once again similar to Google Calendar. It's crazy to me that both Fable 5 and Opus 5 managed to clone Google Calendar as just a side feature for our app. And the functionality works too. When I change the time, the display changes immediately. Here's the focus section, although this one actually has its own little analytics section, as you can see at the bottom. That's cool, and Fable 5 didn't even have that. Now onto the analytics section, and it looks a bit more detailed than Fable's too. There are more graphs and slightly more information. The settings page has the same content, but this is structured vertically. I personally liked Fable's settings page better because of all the information was condensed into one entire screen. Like I didn't have to scroll down a lot. Honestly, I am impressed by both models equally. They've done a great job, but we can already see meaningful differences in how each model interpreted the same prompt. But neither model is done yet, because there's one area where AI generated apps almost always need help. help, which is the UI. I feel like Opus 5's UI was slightly better, but we'll be changing both UIs now, so let's see which one handles that better. Oh, and by the way, the reason why this is running so smoothly is because of how my Claude Code is set up. I've set up my Claude Code to be super optimal. I don't cover the full setup here in this video, but the complete optimization guide is inside our community. So to get access, all you have to do is just to sign up for any of Base44's paid plans through our partner link. So head to BuildWithAI.io and then just go through the flow, pay for a Base44 subscription, and then we will email you access after 2 to 3 hours. Plus you get access to all of this on the screen as well. It's a super valuable community if you actually want to build your app. Part 6, Mobbin MCP. Okay, so as you could see, even when an AI model builds all the correct features, the interface often feels generic. And that happens because code models are very good at knowing which components exist, but they do not always know how the best real-world products arrange those components. Without strong references, you can end up with the same oversized statistic cards and the same random purple gradient that appears in every single AI-generated SaaS app. Just like how both of these apps look like. And this is where Mobbin becomes genuinely useful. So Mobbin is a huge library of real interfaces and complete user flows from successful apps. Instead of just telling the AI model to make your app look better, we use the Mobbin MCP to research the best productivity, calendar, habit and wellness apps actually solve the same design problems. And because Mobbin has an MCP, both Opus and Fable can use it directly inside Claude Code. So that means that the model does not need me to manually collect 20 plus screenshots and explain what is important about each one. So it can search for relevant flows, study the patterns, and convert what it learns into a design system it can actually apply to the code, all automatically. More importantly for the experiment, both models are receiving access to the exact same design resource. So if one model produces a much better redesign, it cannot blame the lack of references. Now connecting Mobbin is straightforward. Inside the same terminals, just add the Mobbin MCP server to Claude Code using this command: Claude MCP add Mobbin -- scope user -- transport https api mobbin.com/mcp. And then I'll restart Claude Code and type in this command to confirm the installation /mcp. Now from here I select Mobbin and follow the browser authorization steps. It's telling me to log into my account, so let me do that and I'll meet you when I'm done. And now when I go back to Claude Code, there we go. It says that we're connected. And I don't need to do this separately for the Fable model. It just connects across all Claude Code terminals. Okay, now that everything is connected, we can now use Claude Code to search Mobbin for design inspiration directly. Part 7. The same Mobbin research prompt. I do not want either model randomly copying one screen. The goal is to use Mobbin like an actual product designer would, studying several relevant products, identifying repeated patterns, and creating one original visual system for Dayflow. So I will send the same prompt to both Opus and then Fable. And just like before, this prompt is in the description too, so just give it a try if you want to. Both models now have the same design brief and access to the same Mobbin library. This is probably the most interesting stage of the entire comparison. It has to research, make design judgments, preserve functionality, and then refactor a fairly large project without breaking it. So I'll meet you when either model is finished and show you how they edited the UI. Part 8. Fable redesign. Alright, Fable has finished first, so let's take a look at what it made. Oh cool, the design already looks different. Now let me go through the onboarding process again and see what has changed within the app. In the onboarding process, even the animations are slightly smoother. Okay, so now we're in the dashboard and I do see a very clear difference. Mainly that there's a whole lot of purple color. It's basically everywhere. Now it depends on your preference whether you like it or not, but honestly I don't like this that much. But I do see that there are clear separators of different elements. Like in this today's schedule section, there's a background that appears when I hover over different tasks, so that's cool. And now I'm going through the rest of the sections. They are a lot more clearer too, and there's a white border around each section for better separation. Actually, now I want to see how the app looks like in light mode. Fable 5 has named this as warm paper. Okay, cool, I'm already liking this. It's light mode, but it's not too bright to the point it hurts your eyes. And I especially like that there is not so much purple anymore. The app feels more premium now, and the colors are a lot softer too, so they blend in with the light theme very well. Okay, overall I feel like Fable 5 doesn't have the greatest design and UI understanding, but it managed to use Mobbin very well to get good inspiration for separators of different sections. If Fable 5 managed to make the dark theme as clean and premium as the light theme, I would have ranked it a lot higher. Part 9. Opus redesign. Okay, now Opus has finished redesigning the UI too, so let's see how it works. And it's actually pretty similar to Fable, but there is a lot less purplish tone, so that's good, and the dark mode feels more premium. Oh, but one thing that's better than Fable, on the left side, you can see that there are different pages divided into different sections. That's cool, we didn't even see that from Fable, but Opus did that during the Mobbin redesign. Okay, so going through all the pages, they feel pretty clean, and similar to Fable in terms of how different parts are separated from each other. Now going through the light mode, it looks very cool. You can tell the background has a hint of purple, so it's staying true to the app theme without compromising on the theme. Whilst Fable 5 went for the full color beige. And Opus 5 is also handling colors the same way as Fable. They are soft, so they blend in with both light theme and dark theme very well. Okay, now that we have seen both, I honestly think that Opus 5 might have an edge. Both models handle colors very well and separate sections very well, but we can see that Opus 5 was smart enough to separate pages into different sections in the left side navigation bar. But I won't give a final score right now. I will do part 10, quality audit prompt. For the next part, I'm going to do something very important. And it's not something many people on YouTube teach or even do. I am asking both models to act like their own QA team. And QA means quality assurance, basically checking software to find bugs and ensure high performance. Now this is very necessary because there may be bugs or performance issues during the initial build that both models might have ignored. And if you realize, many startups and tech companies have a dedicated QA team whose only job is to go through the app before publishing to make sure it's ready for the public to use. Because the app may look fine during the testing phase, but with software you just have to learn that there's always something that breaks. So we need to take all those factors into consideration. Now this prompt is not allowed to add a completely new product direction. It only asks each model to test the requirements, identify problems, repair them, and prepare the project for deployment. And as usual, I'm going to paste the same prompt into both Opus 5 and Fable 5, so just check the description if you want to use this prompt as well. And this stage tests something that's easy to overlook, whether the model can critically inspect its own work. Some models are excellent at generating new features, but terrible at admitting that something is broken. Others will actually run the app, trace the state, and repair problems before you even see them. I will meet you when either model is done, and we will do a final test for each app. Part 11, quality assurance result. Alright, so now Fable 5 has finished again first, and as you can see, Fable found 6 bugs in onboarding, focus timer, models, import, sorting and milestones, and it managed to pass all of the tests. So that's good. Now let's wait for Opus 5 to finish and see what it has done. And now Opus 5 is done too, and okay, wow, it's saying that it fixed 24 bugs. That's a lot more than the 6 bugs Fable found in its app. Now this could mean two things. Either Opus 5 didn't make a good enough app the first time and had to fix all of that now that we asked it to, or Opus 5 is a lot smarter than Fable 5 and went through its app thoroughly to find and fix all of the bugs. It took twice as long as Fable for this task. As you can see, it took 50 minutes. So I personally am going to lean towards the second option, that Opus just went through its app more thoroughly. And also going based off the Opus 5 versus Fable 5 benchmarks, but that is just my guess. Part 12, getting apps ready for publication. At this point, both versions of Dayflow are working, but neither one is ready for real users yet. There's a major difference between building a prototype and publishing an actual product. Right now, both apps still rely on seeded placeholder data and browser storage. That is useful for testing, but it means that every user would be using data stored only on their device. There's also no proper account system, so users cannot securely sign in, access their data from another device, reset their password, or keep their information if they clear their browser storage. So before publishing, both models need to turn their prototype into something that behaves like a real production app, where every new user should begin with a clean account and a proper onboarding process that creates their first tasks, habits, goals, and working preferences. We also need secure account creation, login, logout, password reset, persistent cloud data, better settings, clear privacy controls, and all the files required to deploy the app properly. And once again, both Opus 5 and Fable 5 will receive the exact same instruction, and now we just wait for both of the models to finish. Okay, so now both of the models are done. Part 13, Fable 5 final app. Let's start with Fable 5's app and give it a final look. Okay, immediately we now have a proper account creation page rather than a dashboard filled with demo information. So I'll go to create an account, enter my name, email address and a password, then create a completely new account. Okay, so the account has been created successfully and it has taken me into the app. Okay, so it looks like some of the old demo information briefly appeared while everything was loading. We didn't even go through the onboarding process, and that should not happen because a brand new user should never see placeholder data from somebody else's account. it's giving me a pop-up on top saying I have to create an account again. So let me just click on that. Okay, and finally we see the onboarding process. So let me just go through this and hopefully I see a clean new dashboard after this. Okay, great, it finally worked. But that shouldn't be happening in production. Fable 5 is definitely going to lose some points here. But now that you're here, let's test out the app. Before adding anything, let me just go through all of the pages and make sure they are empty too. And the settings page has some new things, mainly to do with accounts, since we now have an account system built into the app. Okay, let's go back to the main page and start testing the app. I'll begin with this start focus button on top right. And yeah, the timer starts correctly and I can still switch between the different session lengths or connect the session to a task once I have created one. Okay, next I'll try creating a new task. The task form still includes a title and description, but it also lets me choose the task status, priority, category, date and due time. I'll make this an in progress high priority work task and give it a deadline. And there are quite a few fields here, but they are arranged cleanly enough that the form doesn't feel overwhelming. And once I add it, the task appears immediately in the correct section. And there are also those labels that we selected earlier on the right side. So now let me see what happens when I click this check button to mark this task as completed. Nice, the status changes instantly. Now I'll test the habit section. This pop-up requires less information than creating a task. So I can give the habit a name, select an icon and color, then choose exactly which days of the week it should repeat. I'll just create a daily habit to test. And there we go, the habit has been added successfully. And I'm trying to click the check mark to mark the habit as completed for previous days, but it won't let me. But it does work for today. That's good, but I would still want to be able to mark the habit as completed for a previous day, because some people may not have the time to check it on that day in the app, even though they did actually complete the habit. Now let's quickly go over the goals page and try creating a goal next. The goal form is more detailed because it includes a title, description, category, target date, icon and color. It also allows me to add milestones directly while creating the goal, which is important because the app calculates the overall progress from those milestones. I'll create a goal to publish my first app and add an initial milestone designing the UI. And now the goal appears immediately in the active section with 0% progress, and opening it shows the full goal detail screen, including the target date, milestones and management controls. Oh, and I noticed that it didn't add the second milestone I just typed in because I did not click on the plus icon. Now let's test the planner. So I can click directly on a time slot to schedule a new block. That's great. And the app knows what time to input into the time block depending on where I clicked. I'll give this one a title, select its category, choose the date and set its start and ending times. Now once it's saved, the block appears in the correct position on the weekly calendar. I can also click it again to edit the information, change the schedule time or delete it completely. But I am trying to grab the time block to move it around, but I'm not able to. I was hoping it would be more interactive like Google Calendar, and I also can't increase the time length of this time block. It looks like all the edits have to be done by clicking on the time block, so it's not interactive enough. And finally, everything we created is reflected across the different sections of the app, while the settings and account controls remain available from the same interface. In the analytics section, it did update in real time, so that's good. And overall, Fable did a good job converting the original prototype into something much closer to a genuine product, but there are still a few mistakes I would want cleaned up, and more obvious features I would want added before publishing it to thousands of users. Part 14. Opus 5 Final App. Now let's move on to Opus 5's app. And just like Fable, we now have a proper login and account creation page instead of being taken straight to a dashboard with demo information. So I'll create a new account, enter my name, email address and password, and see how Opus handles the process. Okay, the account has been created successfully, and this time it has taken me directly into the onboarding process. So already this is a much smoother experience than Fable. There was no demo dashboard appearing first, no pop-up asking me to create another account, and no confusion about what I was supposed to do next. Let me now go through the onboarding process. For my name first, then which habits I want to build, and what my main goal is. The design is also very clean, and the progress bar on top makes it obvious how many steps are remaining. Okay, and now we are inside the app. Great, the dashboard is completely clean. It did use the information I gave during the onboarding process, because I can already see the habits I selected during onboarding on the right side. So Opus has handled the account creation and onboarding flow much better than Fable so far. Now before creating anything, let me quickly go through the different pages and make sure everything else is empty too. And yeah, the task page is empty. The planner is empty, and there isn't any fake activity being shown in the analytics section either. Now let's go back to the tasks page and start testing the actual features. I'll start by creating a new task. The form is very similar to Fable's. I can add a title and description, then choose the status, priority, category, due date and time. And there are also some more detailed options near the bottom, like adding subtasks and connecting the task to a goal. So I'll make this a high priority work task, set it for today and add it, and there we go. The task appears immediately. The labels I selected are displayed underneath the task too, so I can quickly see the priority, category and due time without opening it again. Now let's test the planner. Just like Fable, I can click directly on a time slot, and the app automatically enters the date and time depending on where I clicked. I'll create a new time block, give it a title, select the category, and choose the start and ending times. And once I save it, the block appears in the correct position on the calendar. Now let me try moving it around. Oh nice, this one actually works. I can grab the entire block into a different time, and the app updates it immediately. Unfortunately, I can't move it to another day, only within the current day. But okay, but I feel like that was a one-time thing, because now I'm trying to drag it and I can't. I will have to note that down as a bug. And I can also grab the bottom of the block and increase its length directly from the calendar. And this is exactly what I wanted Fable to do. Opus 5's app feels a lot more like Google Calendar, because I didn't have to reopen the form every single time I wanted to do a small adjustment. So Opus definitely did a much better job with the planner interaction. Now let's check the habits section. The habits I selected during the onboarding are already here, which is good because it means that the onboarding choices actually affected the account. Now let me mark one of these habits as completed, and yeah, it updates immediately. Now opening the habit also gives us a much more detailed page showing the current streak, best streak, completion history, and which days of the week the habit is scheduled for. There's also a full completion grid and a weekly consistency graph underneath, similar to GitHub, and this is a lot more detailed than just showing a basic checkmark, and it makes the habit section feel like a proper habit tracking app on its own. Now moving over to the goals page, and the goal I selected during the onboarding is already here too, and opening it shows the full goal detail page with the progress, deadline, milestones and recent activity, and there's also an option to add more milestones and edit the goal from here. So again, the onboarding information is properly connected to the rest of the app rather than just being collected and ignored. Now let's test the focus section. The timer opens in a completely distraction-free screen, which I like a lot more than Fable, because now it actually looks like a focus screen. I can start and pause it, switch between the different focus lengths, and connect the session to the task or the goal I created earlier. The design here is also much cleaner than Fable's focus screen. It actually feels like a separate focus mode rather than just another page inside the dashboard. And now onto the analytics page. There isn't much information here yet because this is a brand new account and I haven't completed enough activity yet. But there was already some information when we tested Fable's app, so I'm a bit confused there. And finally, let's check the settings. There are a lot more options here now, including notifications, accessibility settings, account preferences, focus, habit reminders, date and time settings, data importing and exporting, and account deletion. Everything is also separated into clear sections, so even though there are a lot of settings, it doesn't feel confusing. Now when I go back to the dashboard, I can see that the score has been updated based on the activity I just completed. The task, habits, and goal information are also reflected across the dashboard immediately. So overall, Opus did a very good job converting the prototype into something that feels much closer to a real product, and the account creation and onboarding process worked properly on the first attempt. The user starts with a genuinely clean account, and the planner is much more interactive than Fable's. Now there may be some smaller things that would need more testing before a public release, but based on this final walkthrough, Opus has clearly handled the production conversion better than Fable. And finally, part 15, scoring. Now it's time to score both models, and before I do that, let me know in the comments now who you have your bets on. There are 5 criteria I am scoring both models on. The first one is functionality, design and user experience, instruction following, code quality, and speed and autonomy. Now starting with Fable 5, I will give it these scores. For functionality, I will have to give it a 5 out of 10. It did a decent job, but it was the bare minimum. I was expecting more from it, honestly. For design and user experience, I will have to give it a 9 out of 10. The initial design was decent, but it improved a lot after I told it to use Mobbin, and that's exactly why I used Mobbin, because I knew Claude Code would be able to use the Mobbin MCP to improve the design significantly. My only complaint is that it had too much of a purplish tone. Now for instruction following, I will have to give it a 9. There were no issues at all during the building process. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, but the post-account creation process was a mess. For code quality and stability, it was honestly great. Nothing unexpectedly broke, the website functioned normally, so that's a 10. And for speed, I will give it an 8. It did everything very quickly and fixed whatever it had to fix, but in terms of autonomy, when I told it to do a quality check, it only found 6 bugs and said that they were fixed, but when I tested the app, we can clearly tell that it requires more work still. So 6 bugs was not enough. So Fable 5 got a final score of 41 out of 50. Now let me score Opus 5. For functionality, I will give it a 9 out of 10. It implemented everything Fable did, but it also handled some of the more advanced interactions better. The biggest example was the planner, where I could actually drag the time blocks around and resize monetize them directly, which made it feel much more like a real calendar app. The onboarding information was also properly connected to the habits, goals, and dashboard. Now for the design and user experience, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Even before using Mobbin, I already preferred Opus 5's design over Fable's because it felt cleaner and more modern. After the Mobbin redesign, it improved even more. The colors were softer, the dark mode felt more premium, and the navigation was organized into proper sections. It also didn't overuse the purple tone as much as Fable did. Now for instruction following, I will also give it a 10. It followed every major instruction properly, and the final account creation and onboarding experience worked exactly how it was supposed to. Unlike Fable, it did not briefly show demo data or confuse me by asking me to create an account again. It created the account perfectly, sent me through the onboarding, and then took me into a clean dashboard. And now for code quality and stability, I will also give it a 10 as well. Nothing unexpectedly broke during the final test, and the website functioned normally throughout the recording. It also found and fixed 24 bugs during the quality audit, which suggests that it went through the app much more thoroughly than Fable did. And finally for speed and autonomy, I will give it an 8 out of 10. It was noticeably slower than Fable during almost every stage, including the initial build and the quality audit. But in terms of autonomy, it was much stronger. It identified far more bugs, handled the production conversion more cleanly, and required less manual correction from me during the final test. So it loses some points for speed, but it does make up for most of that with better decision making and more thorough work. So Opus 5 gets a score of 47 out of 50. Now after that, I don't think there's even a debate on who was better. Opus 5 won by 6 points compared to Fable 5. And I think that's an honest and genuine winner. Opus 5's app was just better than Fable 5, despite both of them getting the same prompts. So that is what happens when Opus 5 and Fable 5 build the exact same app with the exact same prompts inside Claude Code. And now if you want the full system to go from an app idea to having the entire app built out, published on the App Store and Google Play Store, getting your first few users, and getting your first $1,000 in MRR, following a bulletproof marketing system that will help you go from 0 to 10k MRR in 3 different stages, with AI slideshows, paying UGC creators with profits, and scaling with paid ads, and then exiting your app for more than $300,000. I have the entire system laid out in my community, BuildWithAI.io. And you get free lifetime access with any Base44 paid plan. All you have to do is just to go to the first link in the description, click get lifetime access and sign up for an account. Then all you have to do is just to click on the link to redirect to Base44 using our partner link, and then pay for any of the Base44 plans using the same email as your BuildWithAI account email. And within 2 to 3 hours, we will email you access. And here is a list of everything that you get access to when you join. And you also get access to a private chat with founders based on your current stage of how far you have gotten with building your app. Now the biggest lesson here is that the best coding model is not necessarily the one that writes the most code or gives the longest explanation. It's the one that understands the product, makes good decisions when the prompt leaves room for judgment, preserves context across a long build, and gives you something that you actually can use. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy building.